So Ayush, let's talk about the second guardrail that we are having, the configure over code. So can you please brief me about that?
So basically, see, configure over code is about, you know, identifying the intention of what you want to do and focusing on that intention instead of getting lost in implementing that intention. Okay, effectively focusing on the what and not the how of doing things. So at Godspeed, we have a fourth generation DSL, a fourth generation language, which is written in YAML, okay, which is agnostic to Java, JavaScript, whichever other languages we use. And this DSL helps us configure our applications. For example, configure our environment variables, configure our application settings, then very importantly, configure our event sources, define our event schema, define our workflows as well, and define all the, let's say, calls to the data sources that we use. For example, APIs calls, database calls with caching, retries, token refresh, authorization, custom telemetry for business metrics. All of this can be written in a higher level DSL where you use in the YAML, inline JavaScript or Groovy wherever required. But these configure over code abstractions help you basically reduce your boilerplate, it helps you reduce your effort, it helps you reduce your chances of mistakes, it helps you bring decoupling and flexibility because the same configurations can be used across multiple languages. You could copy paste, put them in another project in another language as well, right? And it also reduces the friction between teams, hence, because there are less issues and less work to do.
So what are the main examples that you want to give about configure over code?
Examples of configure over code would be, let's talk about, see, there are three fundamental abstractions in Godspeed. The first one is event sources, second one is workflows, and third one is data sources, which could be API or a database or a data store. Okay. Now, everywhere across these three abstractions, we have configuration driven approach. So first of, for example, event sources. I use plugins to import event sources and have a standardized event schema, whether for sync events or async events, one way to define all your events in one place in pure YAML files, which have got nothing to do with JavaScript or Java. Okay, this is first configuration, defining all my events, whether HTTP, GraphQL, gRPC, socket, Kafka, cron, all events are defined in one way. Or even listening from webhooks from Salesforce, it could be a Salesforce events are all defined in one way. Okay, this first example. Second example is calling your data sources. What do we do when we call data sources? If we call an API, we have a try and catch block where we retry as well 3 times with constant or exponential backoff, right? We are also caching API responses with lazy loading. First look in cache, if not found, go hit the API or database, then get the response, store in cache and return to the user, correct? So now with Godspeed, you don't have to write all of this boilerplate code, right? You can save all of this repeat effort, all of this boilerplate, wiring things up, and you can prevent technical debt and chaos from entering your system. How? Because you have configured your data source calls in YAML files with inline scripting. So now when you are writing your workflows, in Godspeed you could write your workflows in JavaScript Java or in YAML DSL as well. So when you have very complex business logic, that should be in the native language. Okay, but all that you are doing sometimes is calling data sources, calling to APIs, a database, combining response, returning the response. Okay, so these kind of things where there is not much business logic are best done in the high level YAML DSL, where you simply configured what you want to do and you are done without any boilerplate and any developer effort in wiring things up. So this was about configure over code and high level abstractions based guardrails in Godspeed. In the next video, let's talk about security guardrails. Thank you.